John Cordy and I'm a guitarist, as evidenced by the guitars. On this channel you normally see me playing guitar and dialing in tones and some lessons and things, so hopefully there'll be some useful stuff for you here if you're a guitarist and you're new. If you hit the like and subscribe buttons wherever they are, that'd be cool. In this I wanted to start a new series which I'm going to be dropping every Saturday, basically talking about things that I've found out in the week that I was wrong about. The idea being that the feeling of someone talking to a camera, I think, can come across sometimes as if that person is super confident about what they're saying, or there's not things that they still have to learn, or all that sort of stuff. So the idea is to just put this out there as kind of like a weekly record of things that I've learned in the week, as I'm trying to stay open-minded on stuff, and I think it might be kind of helpful, and there might be things in there that could help other people in some way, and I know for sure that there'll be people that can jump into the comments and leave helpful stuff and more information. As on all of my videos, I'm fairly surprised at the amount of people that have tons of knowledge on all this sort of stuff. So the first thing that I wanted to mention was this week I was talking to my friend Chris Elphick, who has bought a PV5150, well, two combos PV5150. He's a massive Eddie Van Halen fan, and he's just found that he could, on the first channel, he could dial the preamp gain, and it kind of got him close to that brown sound thing that EVH is famous for. And he said that that was based on a Soldano SLO 100, and I've always thought that Soldanos were based on Marshalls, like a hot-rodded Marshall kind of thing, or like Splawn or these kinds of brands, and it turns out I'm completely wrong on that. Apparently Soldano, his first kind of DIY amp was a Mesa Mark II kind of thing, and so the Soldano amps influenced or kind of building off of Mesa Mark type circuitry, which is not something I knew at all. So I thought it was coming from sort of the British side of things. Apparently I'm wrong on that, so that's interesting. So I'm fairly certain there's going to be someone watching this that knows plenty of stuff about Soldano amps and stuff, and I do read comments and stuff, so by all means put in the information that I need to know, because that'd be interesting, I think, for people that are watching this, and school me on this stuff. I think it'd be interesting. The reason that I kind of haven't dived too far down into the Soldano models in like the Helix or the HX Stomp or other devices that I use is because I find like the Marshall stuff seems to me to be more geared towards humbucker style guitars, and if you know my channel, I've sort of had this thing where I don't find that I find it as easy to dial in tones that I like with humbuckers, and I'm more of a single coil person, and I feel like the Mesa Boogies kind of naturally have a kind of thicker tone when it comes to single coils, and seem to take single coils really well. So that's part of the reason that I sort of avoid Marshall kind of stuff and go more towards the Mesa side. But as I say, given that I was unaware that Soldano are actually doing stuff that's sort of geared around Mesa type circuitry, that sort of makes me think that I need to sort of revisit that. I'll just drop in a quick clip here of my first kind of attempt with the Soldano model in the HX Stomp that I did maybe like half a year ago, and the tones that I was getting out of that with a single coil guitar, which I quite liked, and I thought it sounded vaguely Dream Theater-ish, and now that kind of makes sense given what I now think I know a bit more about the Soldano stuff. just heard those tones. They're available with all my other Helix and HX Stomp presets, which I'll link in the description if you're interested in trying out some of those. But I thought also it's worth something else that I discovered this week. So as I was just saying, I'm kind of more of a single coil person, I think, and I say always, I did used to use humbuckers when I was younger, and on kind of Ibanez guitars and Music Man guitars, these sorts of things. But more recently, sort of the last 10 years and stuff, I've been predominantly a single coil player, especially for like lead tones and all that sort of stuff. When I go to play a humbucker guitar into the same kind of presets that I've been used to using, I find they've got more of a nasal kind of darker tone than I'm used to dealing with, and that's led me to sort of conclude that maybe I just don't like humbuckers. So I had a bit of a revelation sort of the day before yesterday when I was recording with a Vox Top Boost AC30 profile pack from Tone Junkie. So when I go to make demos for Tone Junkie, I tried to do something with a Telecaster, a Strat, and also a humbucker type guitar, because I know that obviously there's like half the world that are used to using humbuckers, and I think it's important to show how those profiles also sound with that type of guitar. It's not something I necessarily do for me, because personally I don't always love the tones that I can get out of a humbucker, partly because I've not really been that sure how to go about doing that. But I was playing through these AC30 Top Boost profiles, which I guess is quite a bright amp, a Vox, and I was really enjoying the tones that I was getting. I'll put in the video now of what I was listening to. That I was really digging with a humbucker, and getting more into the playing like I normally would. And what I found is that using the bridge humbucker with a bright kind of profile does get me closer to that kind of single coil feeling that I'm used to. And so I wanted to also experiment with some other HX Stomp and Helix type patches, and see what I could do with those to kind of make them work with a humbucker. I guess if we're talking about single coils and humbuckers, it's worth kind of sort of identifying roughly what the differences are. So as I understand it, a humbucker is generally going to have a higher output than a single coil pickup, and also an increased bass response. I think that might be oversimplifying things, but I think that's basically what the differences kind of in general are. So what that means is that if you're hitting an HX Stomp or a Helix, you're going to be getting compression and more gain than if you were hitting it with a single coil, and also you're going to get more kind of lower mid and bass response, as I understand it. I think what the result generally would therefore would be that things that were clean with a single coil may now no longer be clean. They might be kind of on that edge of breakup kind of gain, or maybe even a little bit of crunch. And also I think you'll find that they'd have a bit more of a nasal quality perhaps, where before it might have been kind of a more balanced tone with a single coil. It might now be a bit kind of too thick and that kind of thing when using a humbucker. So to remedy those things, I guess you're going to want to reduce the gain of the patch in general, and also kind of maybe take out kind of mid humps and these sorts of things that might be there, because naturally the humbucker is going to have a little bit more bass and a little bit more mid than a single coil would, I think. Yeah, so maybe a little bit less bass, a little bit less in the mid kind of region, and less gain, I guess, would be the general kind of tips if you're going to try and adapt a single coil preset to work with humbuckers. I could be completely wrong on all of this, and it would be interesting to hear if people have other kind of suggestions for what works. Those are just my initial kind of thoughts. So anyway, those are kind of the two main things that I've been interested to find out this week. So first of all, the Soldano thing, not at all what I was aware of, and then secondly kind of working out what works with a humbucker so that I don't continue to have this feeling that I'm kind of fighting with a humbucker. So a brighter kind of preset or patch is one kind of aspect that works quite well with a humbucker, as it turns out, and using the bridge as opposed to normally I'm kind of a neck single coil player, a bridge, a humbucker, they kind of feel a little bit similar when you hit them in the front of a bright Vox kind of simulation. I was quite interested by that. Hopefully this video has been slightly interesting to you, and if it was, if you could like and subscribe, and leave in the comments below the things that I should have known before making this video, and that I'll then know as a result of you making the comment. That'll be helpful to me. And if you've got strategies for helping to balance patches between single coils and humbuckers, they'd be super awesome to hear what those are. But yeah, thank you.